Hey there guys, it's Andrew with Tech Engineered, and today we're going to be doing a video about 5 things that you should consider when looking to get a new motherboard or building a new computer and deciding on which motherboard you want to put in it. So let's get started. So the first thing that you need to consider is making sure that it fits your CPU. CPUs fit into different sockets, which is basically the thing that the CPU rests in, so you need to make sure that the CPU socket for your CPU lines up with the CPU socket for your motherboard. You can easily check that by looking at the spec sheets. So once you have that out of the way, the next thing that you should consider is the size of the board. Now, the bigger the board, generally the most features it'll have, the most plugs and sockets and stuff for graphics cards and whatnot. So if you're building a small form factor PC, you're basically going to be limited to a mini ITX build, which will be a very small motherboard, or a micro ATX build, which is going to be a bigger motherboard that'll fit in your kind of normal size towers, or you can go up to a standard ATX board, which is going to be kind of your standard size motherboard that fits in your medium to bigger sized computers, or an extended ATX board if you need all of those PCI Express slots for all of your graphics cards and stuff, and you want all of those plugs and features and just everything on it. And really, the extended ATX boards I find a bit ridiculous because most of the features that are on them you can get in a standard ATX board, and really you're just limiting the cases that you can put the motherboard into with the extended ATX. And that's another thing to consider, is will it fit into the case that you want. So that's really what's going to determine your size, because feature sets are pretty standard among motherboards and you can find a lot of features on most motherboards. Really the only constraint is the amount of plugs, connectors, and RAM slots. As you go smaller, it'll get less, just because there's not as much room to fit them on the board. The third thing that you should consider is audio. Now, if you're an audiophile and you need to have the best audio ever, you're most likely going to be putting a sound card in your computer, so that doesn't really matter. Go ahead and get whatever motherboard fits you, put your sound card in there, and just don't care about the onboard audio. Now, if you're a normal human being like the rest of us, you will generally be using the motherboard's onboard audio and or a USB DAC. So the motherboard's onboard audio can change a lot between motherboards. A lot of motherboards will isolate the audio processing area of the board with a piece of plastic that goes through the actual PCB to make sure that the connectors do not interfere, because while your computer's working and doing things, processing things, it is creating an electrical signal which can interfere with the audio processing and create a small little bit of white noise in the background that is just kind of interference from your computer. So they try and isolate that. So if you are a bit of an audiophile and you don't want to put a standalone audio card in your computer, you can look for a board like that. Or if you really don't care that much and you just want good sound, get one with a good audio processor in it. A lot of boards will be Dolby Home Theater certified or have other certifications like that, so look for those and you can find a motherboard with good audio. Some of them have dual audio codecs on them and stuff like that, and if none of that really made sense to you, you probably don't need features like that. So just go ahead and go with whatever's on the motherboard, and it will most likely sound great if you're getting a motherboard from a reputable company. The fourth thing to consider is Wi-Fi. Desktop computers by default will not have Wi-Fi. However, you can buy boards with Wi-Fi features on them, or a Wi-Fi edition of the board where they will put antenna spots on the back where you can have antennas, or include a Wi-Fi card so that you can add Wi-Fi to the system. So that's just another thing to look at, because if you are not planning on hooking your computer up through a wired internet signal, you will need Wi-Fi, and it's pretty easy just to buy a board with Wi-Fi on it to help you solve that problem and not run into that problem like I've had friends do, and they have to get like the little USB Wi-Fi dongles and stuff, and those just kind of suck. So if you need to use Wi-Fi, plan that out and get a motherboard that supports it natively so you don't have to get an expansion to have Wi-Fi. The next thing to consider is the I/O, or all the ports that are on the board. How many do you need? Because some boards are kind of sparse on the I/O and they don't have that many USB ports and stuff, or do you need a lot of them? Do you need some special I/O, such as a Thunderbolt connector or something like that? If you're getting a motherboard with an integrated video chipset on it, do you need special connectors such as DisplayPort and stuff like that? So really look at the I/O of the motherboard and make sure that it fits your needs, because that can be a major mistake if you're needing a special kind of port or something like that and you buy a motherboard without it, assuming that it'll be on there. So always check that before you buy, especially if you have special constraints on what I/O you need to do your work or play your games. I hope that this video has helped you. I know motherboards are a very broad area to talk about because there are so many options, but really, you just need to find one that works, and don't worry about it too much. That's something that I got into when I built my first computer, the motherboard. There's so many options, and I couldn't decide which one was best for me. Just find one that works, and go with it. Make sure it's from a reputable company, and, you know, if it's a Gigabyte, MSI, Asus, ASRock, any of those major companies, you'll pretty much be okay so long as it meets your constraints and it'll be reliable for you. So yeah, just don't worry about it. It's something that I stressed out a lot about, and I don't want you guys to do the same. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and leave a like. If you enjoyed this channel, go ahead and subscribe. If you have advice for future content that I can make, go ahead and leave that down in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.